Shenanigans.
What?
Today we are starting with Rob B. Rock. You're talking about Governor Ivey in Alabama calling out the unvaccinated. What happened?
I am giving a shout out to Rockstar of the Week, Alabama Republican Governor Kay Ivey. On Thursday, she called out the unvaccinated folks for the rise in COVID cases in her state. And if you haven't checked the map lately, Alabama is one of the worst states right now as far as COVID cases.
But nobody's beating
For
Florida.
vaccination.
I mean,
Well,
Alabama is, even without COVID, Alabama is one of the worst states.
That's so mean.
But
It's
it
true,
is the
though.
least vaccinated
It's a
state
lie.
in the country.
It's a lie.
It
It's
is the
true,
least
Liz.
vaccinated state in the country, with only about 34% of residents being fully vaccinated. So that's a pretty weak game, because the U.S. has a surplus of vaccines that they're shipping out. So the fact that it's only 34% is ridiculous. And the government did share that she received both of her doses of the COVID vaccine in December. It's not a violation of her HIPAA rights. She's a leader. She is an example to her constituents. Are you listening, MTG? Are you listening?
MTG.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, your best friend.
Alabama.
Did you get the vaccine?
Alabama.
That's a violation of my HIPAA rights. Oh, shut up and just be a decent
First
person.
of all, it's not. It's
What
not.
does that
Exactly.
mean?
To understand what HIPAA is. Dak Prescott, quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys this week, someone asked him in a press conference, "Did you get vaccinated?" He said, "I think that's a violation of HIPAA." No, it is not. HIPAA pertains to medical staff and insurance companies, and the fact that they are not allowed to divulge your information. It has nothing to do
medical
with
information.
Rob B
Exactly.
asking if you got vaccinated, people. So, Rob B, ask away. Ask away.
Yeah, exactly. So, Neo, I believe you have a short clip so we can hear this rock star in action calling everybody out.
I do.
The new cases in COVID are because of unvaccinated folks. Almost 100% of the new hospitalizations are with unvaccinated folks. And the deaths are certainly occurring with unvaccinated folks. These folks are choosing a horrible lifestyle of self-inflicted pain.
Besides this emotional plea you just gave us, what is it going to take to get people to get shots in arms?
I don't know, you tell me. Folks are supposed to have common sense. But it's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks, not the regular folks. It's the unvaccinated folks that are letting us down.
But as a leader of the state, don't you think it's your responsibility to try and help get this situation under control?
I've done all I know how to do. I can encourage you to do something, but I can't make you take care of yourself.
That's right.
I mean,
Okay.
Where's the lie?
Okay, Mama.
Where's the lie?
So, my friends,
But-
what say you? Is the GOP leadership ready to hear this from within its own ranks?
Let's start with Gianni.
I was gonna say, I agree. I feel like there is an issue, and she said, I've done all I could do, right? But there has been other states that have gone above. I know Georgia is going above and beyond for certain, for people to be vaccinated. So there's I wouldn't go as far as to do like a lottery and all of whatever people are doing, but there needs to be more incentive. And I understand, I know what you guys are gonna say, like why is there an incentive to save lives? But there's so much skepticism. Oh, sorry, let me get this right. There's so much skepticism in especially in the younger generation, people just don't trust it. And it's not even like, oh, we just want to be rebellious or ignorant. It's just they don't trust it. So yeah. I want to hear what you guys.
I just want to say real quick to that. So one of the things she said was the variants are because of the unvaccinated. And that's a very accurate statement, because the more people that get COVID, the more chances there are for variants and other ones to, for it to become more resistant. So the unvaccinated, so they're like petri dishes for COVID to become a variant. So, I mean, she was very accurate on that as well.
Yeah.
Did you guys want to respond to Johnny real quick, or Lizzie?
Yeah. like she should have done more to make people get vaccinated is basically what I'm saying.
Well,
It's social accountability. What incentive is there other than doing your part as a citizen in your community, doing what's right? And I find it just so shameful that people are saying, "Well, it's my right not to." Okay, I agree. It is your right not to, but it's also your right to participate in a society as a contributing member. And when it's called
Yeah.
upon you to get a vaccine, get the goddamn vaccine. No one's putting a rifle in your hand and saying, go across the sea and shoot these people. Just take a little jab in your arm. Take your Fauci ouchie, as it's been dubbed. Take it.
Fauci, ouchie.
But I think it's more so coming from a place where it's not like I said, it's not to be rebellious and be like, we don't want to do it. It's my right. It's not really about that. It's more of a misunderstanding. And then that is
It's
perpetuated
education.
when social media is like, yeah, in the comments, they're like on the shade room, yeah, we're not getting vaccinated. So it's just like, I understand where those people are coming from. If you don't know, you don't know.
The majority of the people that are not being vaccinated are younger people who lack education on the
Yeah.
value of vaccines. Now, this may not be the majority. The majority are the Trumpers, but the second majority, the next group would be young people. And so, I mean, I get it. And I actually liked I think DC, Muriel Bowser did like, they gave her a $51 gift card or something to get the vaccine. But I see Lizzie's chomping, so go ahead.
One, ignorance of the law, ignorance of medical availability is not an excuse for anything. Okay. It's your responsibility, especially in 2020, where all of this information is out there for you to consume, for you to get. It's up to you to educate yourself and govern yourself accordingly. If you are looking to Shade Room for some information, then we have a problem. Then we really have a problem. And I want to say to a lot of these people, when they're looking at a lot of these Republicans, a lot of these GOP politicians, all of them are vaccinated.
Mhm.
All of them are vaccinated. You even look at Donald Trump back in the day, who was talking about this disease as if it, or I'm sorry, this virus as if it wasn't real, as if vaccinations didn't matter. He was poking fun at, Joe Biden before the election because Joe Biden, he was like, Joe Biden wants to shut down all this stuff if you're not vaccinated. Guess who got a vaccination? I would love to see a poll of the people in Congress who aren't vaccinated.
Mm.
Guarantee you those numbers would be small.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So they're
I'm sure
they're,
Rand
they're
Paul has
giving
vaccine.
I mean, Rand Paul has to get vaccinated because he got so many people that are coming in his face wanting to beat his ass. He has to protect himself from those people first, right?
Yeah, for those that don't know, he got beat up on his lawn not too long.
By his neighbor, and I wasn't mad at it. I wasn't mad at it. And Fauci goes in on him every single time he can. But my point is don't buy into the bullshit that these people are selling you. They are protecting themselves while also saying, for political purposes, this is not fair, this is not within constitutional right. Don't buy into that. Ask them why they got vaccinated. If they're telling you not to get a vaccination because it is your right not to be vaccinated, okay, it technically is your right, but it's also the right of businesses, of schools, of me as an individual person to say, get the fuck away from me. You
All
are potentially contagious. So start to ask those questions. Is why are they protecting themselves, but they are not asking you to protect yourself?
Robbie, before we get back to you, I'm gonna go to the comments online real quick.
Yeah, no, some great comments.
Yeah, so Jacqueline Robinson says, MTG, the Geico cave woman. That's funny.
She's a full mess. She's a full mess.
Dario Winner says, I love common sense, in quotes. Your life is the incentive. She also points out it mutates in its hosts. And she also suggests stay in your house and don't come. Olivia says, but it's still only for emergency use. It hasn't been through all the phases. It's a legit concern. She says, I blame the unvaccinated. Oh, and then Karen Andrews says as well, Some people just don't trust the vaccine. And this is one of the points that I wanted to bring up. Um, and I get the whole, the way African Americans have been treated throughout history, and we're not talking vaccines, but I'm just talking about medical things like, back in the day. So, um, and so, yeah, I get it. African Americans are scared because of that. But the truth of the matter is, I have an in-law that sent me some information about um, vaccines. And the truth is, this is an unprecedented vaccine. We haven't seen a vaccine like the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines in history because it's a new way of doing vaccines. The messenger mRNA vaccine. It's never been done before. We have no idea, honestly, how this affects the body because we don't have enough. All we have is the trials so far, and the trials haven't been completed fully for all people. So the reality is, it's a legit concern. I agree with Olivia and Karen. This is a legit and reasonable concern for some people. I don't believe that many of these people who should have legit concerns, I don't think that's the reason they're not getting vaccinated, though. Because I think they're not getting vaccinated because of all the Trumpers out there telling them that it's wrong, it's this, it's that, and the other, not because they've actually looked into it and tried to consider the pros and cons. I mean, but the truth remains, we don't know if somewhere down the line, someone from this vaccine would develop sickle cell disease, or we develop some other issue, or maybe we get or another virus becomes easier to catch. We don't know because there's not enough history. We don't even know if we need a booster or not, a third booster. That's how much we don't know about this vaccine. So there's a lot of still questions and reasonable. I'm just thinking that most people who are not getting it, I don't think that's the reason they're not getting it though. But go ahead.
A lot of people who aren't getting it aren't being rational about how they live their lives. Because in 2020, I knew 4 people who died, 4 Black people who died of COVID. In 2021, 2 people, 1 Black, 1 white, who died of COVID. Several other people who contracted COVID didn't die, but they are suffering. They are suffering. And so my thing is, okay, so you're willing to put that risk, the risk of death, the risk of long-term symptoms,
Yes,
over
agreed with
a
you.
vaccination that will
100%
make your
agree.
arms swollen, or down the line you might have some reaction. Like, what is that?
But the reality is, you'll die from the percentage of deaths from COVID is exceptionally high.
We're talking, I think, near 700,000 deaths just in this country alone, not tracking the after effect of the people who haven't
Post-COVID.
But more importantly, a lot of people are, spewing out all of this language. Well, I'm concerned about the vaccine and blah, 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 blah. Are you concerned about the cough medicine that you take? Are you concerned about all the other drugs that you take? That when you look in,
you can die from Tylenol.
Or when you
That's
when you
different,
look
though.
at how is it different?
That's a
though?
little
I
different.
mean, yeah,
That's
It
different
is a little different in terms of there's some history to it.
but they give you the information what the risks are for these vaccines the same way they give you the information for Robitussin.
But go ahead, Gianni.
And no, before Gianni goes, and I question, because I've had to do this with a lot of people who are in my circle. You smoke weed that is laced in shit that you don't know where it came from. You drink all the time, myself included, but yet you have unprotected sex all day, every day.
You can die from drinking water.
But you want to come at me about
Bad
a vaccination that not only implicates your life, but implicates mine as someone who is immune compromised. That's where I have a problem. Like, there are inconsistencies with a lot of the excuses for not taking the vaccine. That's my issue. Like, if we gonna come correct, let's come correct with all of the truth. Like, you look on every time you see a commercial on TV about Viagra, about all of these other drugs that are new and sorry, Rob. Didn't mean to touch your nerves, Rob. Sorry, Rob.
No,
Sorry, Rob.
I love American pharmaceutical commercials because of the list of side effects. We don't have that in Canada. So I love American pharmaceutical commercials for that. May cause.
It may kill you.
Okay, so I'm solving Billy's anxiety, but he's going to be dizzy. He's going to fall out of the tree. He's going to shit his pants
Throw
and throw
up.
up with all the other kids laughing at him. Oh, great. But at least he's not anxious.
But they still want to get a wrecked penis and be able to bust a nut. So they're willing to take that risk for that. And so that's my issue, is that people aren't being rational about
They're
their
being
excuses.
disingenuous about their opinion.
Yeah,
Disingenuous.
I think there has to be.
I won't put that in my body, but what about all the other chemical cocktails that you put in your body, or the things you put in your body that you have no idea? Oh, I love Ben and Jerry's. Okay, can you list the chemical ingredients in that shit? Because it's disgusting, and you put it in your body. It's just.
It should all be about pros and cons and risks. So you're always weighing the pros and cons and the risks. So if you're looking at the pros and cons of taking the vaccine versus doing COVID, risking COVID, the pros and cons weigh heavily towards getting the vaccine. Not only that, further protecting other people, because as variants start to form in, like I say, unvaccinated people are basically petri dishes, creating a new, potentially worse virus like the Delta variant, which it's already created. I mean, that is a risk that we're taking, and we're putting other people potentially at risk, even people who've been vaccinated. Because actually, the Delta variant, where the current vaccine, the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, were 94% effective against the original COVID variant. It's only 80% effective against the Delta variant. So
Delta or Gamma?
Well, I was reading Delta, so Gamma might be worse. I don't know. What I was reading said Delta. It was only 80% effective against Delta, and that was only the Pfizer that had done the trial. I mean, the test on that at that point. Moderna had not done anything against the Delta variant. So, I'm just saying it could get worse, where the vaccine becomes absolutely useless because of all the unvaccinated people. So she has a great point.
People don't understand the idea that viruses mutate. It's the same with the flu shot. The flu shot that I got this year is not the same flu shot that I got 3 years ago, because the virus had a mutation. And medical science.
Did they tell us about the mutation ahead of time, with COVID? I don't know. I'm really asking.
Kind of, for viruses, it's kind of common knowledge. Like, a virus doesn't stay in its same state. Viruses are live. Viruses are active. They change, they mutate. And so medical science has to adjust to the virus. So every flu shot that you take is not the same as the one you took the previous year or the previous year before that. And let me just say this. And my sister, Jacqueline Robinson, is a part of this thread, so she can agree. My name is Elizabeth Eleanor Newman. I'm named after my father's sister, who died in the late 30s of the whooping cough. Before there was, at 15 years old, before there was a virus, before there was a vaccination, before there was a vaccine for it. Once the vaccine came in the early 40s, it was basically eradicated. The same for polio, the same for all of these other diseases and viruses that we had back in the early 20th century. Like, this is not rocket science, people. Vaccines help to save lives. And the fact that this vaccine was created so quickly, that's a testament to the advancement and technology of science. Not because they're trying to get over on us. It's because it's 2021. Honestly, I expect them to have that shit overnight, because it's 2021.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Again, my dad's sister died at 15 of the whooping cough. 3-4 years later, she could have been saved because of a vaccine. And I think Americans, we've been very lucky that we have not had a pandemic like this in decades. And so now it's kind of testing our trust and our knowledge and our willing to believe in the technology
Yeah.
that we hype up all the time. Like, why do we send people to medical school if they aren't going to create this for us?
Yep. Yeah, I'm in total agreement with it. Did you have anything you wanted to say, Johnny? I know you were trying to get something
No,
in. Okay. So
no, I
yeah,
just had a question.
and you have another question?
No.
Okay.
Don't worry.
No, I mean I totally agree with you, Liz. The you know, like I say, it's all about pros and cons, and unvaccination. You know, you're pretty much saying, hey, if I get unvaccinated, I'm going to put myself at risk for COVID Delta, which is crushing people right now, crushing people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and the only thing that's allowed us to reopen is the vaccine, which is protecting us. So, protecting the people who choose to take the vaccine. So, I mean, at some point, you just say, well, if you're not going to get the vaccine, let them go. The problem with that, again, is still, as she said, they're petri dishes. They're still not good enough. It's still not good enough. I don't want to
And no
mandate the
vaccine,
vaccine because it's not been vetted for a long enough period of time. But
well,
at the same time,
and, and no vaccine, no medicine on the planet is 100%. People
no,
need to understand
right?
that.
Advil, they
There are
die from
there are risks
Advil.
to every there are
Every
risks to
single one.
every single medication that you take. There's
Every
It's
single
no
true.
one.
medication that you take
Very true.
that is 100%.
You just got to
There's
weigh the
no
pros and
single
cons.
vaccine that has a 100% cure rate. That's just not a thing.
Don't want to
It's
risk
just not a
death
thing.
from Advil or get rid of my headache. All right. All right. So that's it. That's all the time we have for our host to talk. So now we got to talk to you guys. There's a lot of comments online, so let's get to that. I'm going to start with the most recent one from Lady Annie Burrill.
Anybody?
Hi, Lady Annie.
Buddy.
Very,
Buddy.
very.
You're right, Lizzie. Mutations will happen as the virus will try to stay alive. But yes, also agree vaccines work. This COVID happened so fast, hence the change in information so much. I believe things will settle down, maybe not very soon, but in the near future. Daria Winter said, then those vaccines hide among the vaccinated, and then those children for whom no vaccinations have been approved are vulnerable.
Mm.
Stay home if you are
Yeah.
unvaccinated. That's another thing. I mean, if you're unvaccinated, maybe they should cause them to, and maybe that's the mandate. Maybe not getting the vaccine, but maybe they have to stay home like we did for a year and a half.
Well, we're starting to see it just for entertainment venues where people need documentation that they have had their vaccine before they can attend. And some people feel that it's discriminatory, but at the end of the day, the people who made the responsible choice for their society get to participate in society.
Yep. Good, Rosie,
Yes,
real quick.
you above me?
People like Eric Clapton, who are talking about how he had all of these symptoms from the vaccinations, and he's an anti-vaxxer. He got vaccinated, but then he didn't follow the rules of the vaccination that he got. But also, he's not taking into consideration that he was a crackhead for like 4 decades. Like 4 decades. His body is just a mess. It's gonna relax. It's gonna react negatively to anything out there. So this
Oh my
isn't
God.
necessarily COVID or a negative reaction to the vaccine. He was a fucking crackhead. Cocaine.
Yeah,
Are,
Hello,
different.
are,
cocaine.
are you
Hello.
saying that he had a reference point when he wrote cocaine?
I mean,
All right,
if
so
you gotta
Olivia,
write a
You guys
song,
are so
if you
silly.
gotta write a song called Cocaine, there is a problem, bruh. There is a
You're addicted.
problem.
Olivia makes a good point. She says, well, I have the vaccine, and I wish everyone with the vaccine would continue to follow the original guidelines. I'm so pissed at the CDC at the CDC for their messaging because we can still catch it and spread it to one another. Which I agree. I mean, I think we should still start looking at, going back to going back to mask mandates, especially as this Delta variant is getting out there. Jacqueline Robinson says, I vehemently disagree with this both sides thing. I'm sorry, but the same folks who are encouraging that others get vaccinated jump the line to get themselves and their families vaccinated. I think she's talking about the senators Lizzie was talking about earlier. It's politically motivated at this point, and ignorance is willful. I want to point out that Ephraim also says, please do not mix science with politics. Robin Johnson, Karen, let me do Karen Andrews first. Thompson, she said recommended reading is the book Medical Apartheid. Try that.
Okay.
And Robin Johnson, who is a veterinarian, a doctor herself, the vaccine has been in development long before COVID. COVID just gave the
Thank
opportunity
you.
to apply this virus
Thank you.
to the vaccine.
It
So
didn't happen overnight, folks.
yeah. So
It
so
did
this,
not happen overnight.
I think she's talking about this mNRA uh, vaccine of trying to do it a different way. Has
But
been
I think a
in
lot of people
development for a
think that
while.
folks, I think a lot of people think that, some doctors went into the lab in December and January, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden developed this vaccine. And I'm like, no, it's been in the works. They've been working on this and developing this for years. That's how science works. It's trial and error for years.
All
For
right.
years.
Before we get into the next one, I want to say Missy Brule says, Rob Bertrand, no vaccine for me.
Aha! I work with Missy. She's pretty awesome. I know that Missy has 2 young children, and that's been a big cause of concern because, as you said earlier, there has been no approved vaccine for children. It's causing all kinds of issues in kids. So I can appreciate where there would be some apprehension based on that information.
All right. Let's get into our next quick topics.